Hello?
Andy?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Here.
Perfect. Okay, now that we have all our commissioners, I've started the recording, and welcome to the January 2022 Design Review Committee meeting. I'm going to call the roll to confirm that our DRC members are present. Alphabetical order: Omari Davis.
Here.
Robert Dudka.
Here.
And Andrew Wenchel.
Here.
Perfect, thank you. For the safety of our board members, county staff, applicants, and participating community members, we will be convening monthly DRC meetings virtually for the foreseeable future. For members of the board and applicants joining us this evening, today's meeting is available to stream from the county website via Microsoft Teams link. There's also a dial-in phone option for those who wish to use it. If you lose internet connectivity during the meeting, please reconnect with us by phone. Applicants, please keep your devices muted and your video turned off until your item is under review. Turn off sound to any other devices around you to minimize interference. When called upon to speak, you must unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located on your meeting command bar. The command bar will appear if you move your cursor down toward the bottom of your screen. We do not have the ability to unmute you. If you are dialing in by phone, press *6 to unmute. The meeting chat is active for participants who need technical assistance and should not be used for questions. Discussion by the Design Review Committee members will be bulleted here after being spoken to the public record. We will then compile notes and send them to applicants as guidance if needed. The public may observe these meetings, but participation in the discussion is limited to applicants and members of the HLRB during this meeting. Public comment is welcome at the HLRB meeting. Information about signing up as a speaker or submitting a public comment for that meeting is available on the HLRB website. Finally, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. And with that, I am going to take us to our first agenda item. That is an item that our commissioners have already seen. This is the first time that this project is coming forward to us officially for COA approval. It is the addition and garage at 3421 21st Avenue North. And I believe Matt Lee and Ashley Smith are here for the owner, Colin Uckert. Thank you for joining us today. And commissioners, as you know, you've seen this project more than once, and this is the final iteration. I'm just going to go through the drawings. Let me know if you have any questions. And the applicant kindly submitted some additional renderings for me so we could see additional views from the street.
Serena, can I ask something? Was this seen last month?
It was, yes.
Okay, so there's been discussion that I didn't participate in. So I will I guess maybe you can summarize briefly for me what happened last month. In addition
sure.
to your report.
Yes, so this project has come in front of us more than once, and the applicant has been really receptive to feedback. They lowered the roof more than once, created this hyphen between the two buildings to separate the new from the old, and made sure that the roof line was not above the roof line of the historic property. Can someone mute themselves just so there's no echo? Perfect, thank you so much. And they added this garage in the rear and reduced the roof line twice, put in a half-moon window to mimic the half-moon window in the property, and also set it back so it would be a secondary building to the main structure. The staff report found the materials to be appropriate and the changes that have been made over time to the property to be appropriate. As an addition to the historic structure. Do you have any additional questions for me? Is there anything I didn't cover? It was quite generic.
Can you go back to you scrolled through the drawings to the ones that showed the the changes.
Sure, let me. So these are the plans for the garage.
Right.
And I can take us to the site plan so you can see how the size has been
There
reduced.
was those ones where the colored, I assume that showed the, keep going. I just wanted, okay, there. So that's, those are the parts of the original house that have been, modified or demolished, right?
Yeah, so that's an existing addition that is going to be removed.
It's not part of the original house. It was an addition.
It was an addition, I think in the 80s.
Right, okay.
Do you want me to keep going through the drawings?
No, I just wanted to see this sheet. Okay. That's it.
Great, thank you. Mr. Davis or Mr. Winchell, do you have any comments?
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, I appreciate the fact that the applicant has moved the garage back. I guess it's 2 foot 4 inches from the main addition to the house. So that was one of the concerns and requests, I think, or discussions, certainly at the board meeting. I think some members of the board would have liked to have seen the garage move back further than that, but it was originally by the applicant set at the same setback line as the main addition to the house, the 1.5 story with a basement. So I think 2 foot 4 is, it could be a bit more, but I have one comment on that I think would help. There's been railings used on the patio between the original house and the addition, and that is fine there. I think that's fairly light, but I think it would perhaps emphasize the setback of the garage from the addition if instead of a railing fence there and steps down, to change that railing to a picket fence, which would be fairly traditional and would read stronger than the light railing, metal railing. So I think that would be one suggestion. I think I think there's some concern about the fact that the garage was originally set real close to that same setback line as the addition, and traditionally, if a garage was in that place, it would have been set further back. Usually don't line the garage with the facade of the house facing the street. I think 2 foot 4 is a reasonable compromise, but I think what could be done is to reduce the impact a bit more. You could change the roof of the garage to essentially put a half hip and to reduce that gable front, and that half hip would then push the opportunity for a ventilator or whatever, which the half circle window appears to be a window instead of a ventilator, and I think certainly in a garage some sort of louver ventilator is required or should be would be advisable on the front and rear, because unless you're going to provide some sort of conditioned air, the garage is going to get pretty warm in the interior in the summer. So that's something to possibly be considered by the applicant. I was just trying to essentially suggest that you could reduce the impact. That would, instead of pushing it back further, if you put a half hip on the roof, that would, the garage roof on the front, that would help. You can
Thank you for
continue
your
the same
comment.
thing on.
Yes, Mr. Dudka and Mr. Davis, do you have any additional comments, or do you have something to add to
Well,
Mr.
Amari, why don't you, I haven't been part of this conversation
Sure.
for a bit. Why don't you go and I'll make a few comments afterwards.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, sure thing. I'd like to thank the applicant, for their work thus far. The only comment and question, and it's not necessarily a deal breaker or anything. But I know that last time I know that that a Commissioner Wenchel had mentioned potentially sort of narrowing down or sort of differentiating the hyphen a little bit more from the body of the addition and from the existing building. I do see that there is some differentiation there now, but the way it's done, I almost wish that the hyphen could. I'm not quite sure how to. Serena, I guess could you advance to just yeah, there we go there. So the hyphen kind of pops up above the existing above the gable coming from the existing house, and I kind of want it almost to be the fact where the hyphen would be sort of the minor element in this elevation, such that you have the addition on one side and then the existing house on the other side. The hyphen almost wants to be sort of the minor thing connecting these two major elements. And I mean, again, it's really not a deal breaker from sort of my point of view of the project at all, but that was something that Commissioner Wenchel had mentioned. I thought that was a very good comment last time to make that hyphen a more minor element, but that's my only comment on design. Again, I want to thank the applicant for their work thus far in the project.
So this is Robert. So thanks, Amari and Andy. And so did this go to the board last month? The full board?
Yes.
And was the board generally supportive?
Yes, they were very happy with the addition, including the Joan, who's a neighbor. She's, I think, 2 houses down Lincoln, because this is on the corner. And they were very happy with the design, and also glad to see the house being taken care of. Right.
Okay. And so, yeah, my comments, I guess, go with what others have said. The one thing that kind of now seeing this all together kind of bothers me just a little bit is, is that it almost looks like the addition is another house, that they were, but on the other hand, I think this is far superior to a strategy of glomming onto the original structure, because you essentially have the original Sears house as itself. It stands alone, which is pretty uncommon when you do these kinds of additions. So I think on the whole, it's worth doing it this way. And I also realize that you can't really push there's almost no yard to this property, so you can't really push the garage any further back. It would be, it'd been great if there was somewhere to push the garage so it's not quite so up front, but I know that can't happen. So I guess then my only, I think I share Omari's concern about the link, that it should, that if anything, you almost want it to go the other direction, where the link on the addition side is lower than on the house side, but I understand why it is. That's not a huge consideration for me, but the other the other thing which I think I said the first time I saw this, or 2 times ago, I agree also about the metal rail. I don't think it really works. I don't think it really works with, with this whole thing. I'd rather if it was a more of a Maywood wood rail. But otherwise, I think the applicant has done a very good job with this, and I think I'd certainly support it. I guess that the next Serena, what are we? Is the intent to go to the board for final approval
Yes.
this month? Okay. So I guess the question is it possible to? I've now heard there were 2 of us who talked about the rail. I don't know if we all agree about that. And that seems like a relatively simple thing to change. I don't know if the applicant would be amenable to that or not. But if that, if that was, I think if that was changed, I would be okay with this.
Hey, Matt, it's Colin. Do you want to address that, or would you like me to
Yeah,
respond?
I raised my hand to try to be polite, but Serena just didn't want to talk to me, I guess.
So when I show my screen, I can see nothing. I'm so
All
sorry.
good. I'm very offended, Serena, but we'll let it pass this time. Yeah, Colin, absolutely. So we've got 2 railings on this view, guys. I agree if the one on the left between the addition house and the garage wanted to be more of a picket fence feel, that doesn't bother us. I think the one on the house, we're looking for some transparency there. Is that the one you're talking about, Mr. Dudka, too?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. The one between the garage and the addition is not, yeah, that should all, I think that should be that should be a wooden fence
Right.
as well. But I think the metal railing, I think what it does is it tends to, I mean, I know that it does happen on, on houses of this vintage, but
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't happen on a Sears house is my sense. And so I think I'd rather see it as a wood rail. What does the rest of the DRC think? I guess the other comment was actually about the link between the garage and the addition, not about the rail up on the house proper. So what do you other 2 guys think?
Well, if I could jump in, Andy here, I think we hadn't really commented on the rail by the patio that's between the addition and the original Sears house, which is raised up a bit. I agree with you that the Sears house would not normally have a metal rail. That was something that somebody that came later sold to a homeowner. It wasn't part of the Sears built kit. So, I mean, I think that that's a reasonable request. It would give you a nice feel. I think the only argument for the metal railing is really the more transparency, that you can see through it, if you will.
And my thought, if I can interject, my thought was that it's a wood rail is going to require a post every 4 to 6 feet. It's going to be a lot chunkier, and I don't think it's going to be as attractive. It's more maintenance for our client. I think the metal rail is going to be something thinner, lighter, and the neighborhood's going to enjoy more than a chunky, pressure-treated, painted 2x4 rail.
No, it's not. Well, it wouldn't be a 2x4 rail. It would be a Maywood, approved rail, which is the more traditional rail.
Got it. Okay.
Which is in the guidelines. There are
Understood.
details how to do that rail
Okay.
in the guidelines. And you see it all over Maywood. I mean, it's it's fairly typical.
Understood.
So Amari, what do you think?
I'm kind of willing to. I think I'm kind of on board with you, Nanny, on this one. I think that I definitely hear the argument that the transparency of the metal, sort of makes it sort of better for the viewer, so to speak. But I think as a sort of uniformity thing with the neighbors and with Maywood in general and with the Sears house, I think that the wood would be more appropriate. I do think that. So I see both arguments, but I would sort of fall to the side of having the wood railing, I guess, both between the garage and also up on the patio there as well.
Turn left on North Edgewood Street, then turn right.
Thank you, Siri. Understood.
So
That doesn't bother me.
Can I ask for a clarification? So I thought the previous comments on the area between the garage and the addition were to have a picket fence, and is that the direction we're being guided, or do you want the same wooden railing there that you're now suggesting on the patio?
No, the fence between the garage and the addition is a fence, and I think as long as you do, one of the standard fence designs that exists in the guidelines, you're good to go on that, at least in my opinion. And in fact, I don't think you need, technically you don't need our approval for the specific fence that you put in there. As long as it's one of the guideline approved fences, because essentially they're already approved. But the rail, on between the original house and the addition, clearly, does need our approval. So I mean, I guess I don't know how the whole board feels about this. You could always come in with an alternate, two alternates, one with the metal rail, one with the wood rail, and see what the board is willing to allow. We're 3 people out of however many we are now, 13 or because my sense is just to summarize this, is that I think everybody's pretty happy with this, and that we should kind of move it on to the board. I think we're just talking about the rail at this point, and you could easily show an option with the wood rail and one with the metal rail, and then just I guess it could be one of those things. If you can make your case to the board, if the board is okay with the metal rail, then I'm not going to be upset about that.
Okay, well, I appreciate the guidance. That's very helpful. Thank you.
So does anybody else have any other comments, or are we good to move this forward to the board?
I'm good to move it forward to the board.
So you'd like to put this on the
Okay.
discussion agenda, Robert?
Well, I mean, the board has already seen this. The only issue is that if this rail, I mean, we could couch it that, that they've done what the board has asked, and we're really just have this one minor issue, which we're doing as a favor to the applicant, because if the board is okay with the metal, then so be it. So yeah, I would suggest that it goes to discussion, but not to reopen. If all the other elements have already been discussed, then I think then really it should be limited to the changes that were made since the last board meeting.
Thank you.
All right, I will put that on discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it looks great though, so we'll see you
Thanks
in
so
a
much.
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Thank you very much.
The second item is at the Green Valley Pharmacy. This is a request to install an opening in the east facade to access a new exterior walk-in cooler, remove an existing chimney, and make some landscaping changes to make the area ADA accessible for a restaurant to be inserted. Originally, the removal of the American elm that you can see in this image was included, but actually that was approved for removal in 2018, along with the COA that approved the removal of the mansard roof. So that is not actually up for discussion. So this would be just for the removal of this chimney that you can see, the addition of a cooler along that space, and the insertion of an exterior, of a doorway from the building into the cooler. Mr. Winchell at the last meeting, because this was seen on the last meeting before it was pulled from the HLRB agenda, asked if there was going to be a space in between the two, and there is an air gap between the building and the cooler, so they are not touching, they're not connected, but there will be a vacuum seal between the door and the cooler. And then, as you can see, the area is largely already paved, but this would be repaved for improved car access, and then a dumpster pad, a concrete one, would be poured in the rear to allow those dumpsters to be installed there.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
The two things. Well, first, it seems like with that chimney protruding the way it is, they're either going to build around the chimney or they're going to set the whole thing out
They're
at
asking to
the
remove
base
that.
of the chimney. Huh?
They're asking to remove it. It's no longer in
Oh.
use, and that's one of the items they're asking to remove. So we
Okay,
have
so
approved
okay, that's fine. That
the removal
that answers
of,
that question.
okay, yeah.
Could I
Okay.
jump in, Robert, on this?
Yeah.
On the chimney. We had some discussion the last time, and first of all, I think you can't get the cooler that tight to the wall, so you end up with a place that is, essentially a vermin area. Plus, you also get the problem of you're going to cause some deterioration from lack of maintenance or sight or whatever of the rear wall, and the chimney would provide a reasonable offset. And you're taking one of the features of the historic structure, the chimney, which was part of the original building, and taking it off, which I think is regrettable. You're also, with this proposal and putting this tight, you're wiping out an American elm tree that is there that might possibly have been left, if you will. So, I mean, I really think that this is wiping out a lot of the detail of the original pharmacy, and I would recommend we not approve the idea of them demoing the chimney.
Yeah, Andy, I tend to agree with you on that. One, I think I've actually, in a very bizarre way, because I worked on a guy's house once where he had a private chef, and I actually put in I put one of these freezers in his house, like 4 by 9 feet. So I know what, I know how they build these things, and they're fairly flexible because they come in panels, so they could literally, I think, panel, or I mean, I'm sure there are rectangular units, and it's more economical to just do a straight rectangular unit, but they can also build it, I think, so that it would go around the chimney if that's what was required. I would hate to see that chimney go, because one of the arguments about this cooler is that it's removable, and and so if it's removable, then when it's removed sometime in the future, when it's no longer a restaurant, I mean, now it's something else, we've lost the, this is a very, very simple building, and we've lost this chimney, which is kind of a feature of the building. So I'm opposed to taking the chimney down. I think they can work this cooler somehow around the chimney. And the other
What about
question I had,
offsetting it?
wait, Andy, before I'll turn it over. The other question I had was, we haven't seen any elevations of this. How tall is this relative to the rest of the building? I mean, it should be drawn in the elevation, so we see, we see the relationship, like where are those, where are the air conditioning packs that go on the roof? How do those stick up above the main roof? How does this work? I'd like to see what it looks like.
Okay, so you'd like an additional elevation with at least the height shown of both the box and the AC unit.
Yeah.
Is Pat Snyder on the line with us?
They're going to have to draw this eventually anyway. I mean, they're going to have to do shop drawings of this thing to in order to build it. So,
it sounds like the architect may not be on the line with us.
But it's a really simple thing. It's a few lines. Somebody ought to be able to draw this pretty quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so so you do not object to the idea of the cooler, especially if it were located next to the building, but without any affect to the building. So if it were placed.
Yeah, I'm okay with it tight to the building as long as they build it around. They literally, I think, can jog it around the chimney if they have to. They put these things in weird situations. I mean, maybe it depends on the manufacturer, of course. But I'm sure there's a way they could make this work without taking that chimney off. They should at least tell us what they can do.
Okay, I can ask the architect to explore those options and bring them back to us.
Okay. Amari, do you have any?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing really to add. Honestly, I mean, I think seeing it the first time, I think I sort of thought that it was kind of okay what they were proposing, but taking a second look at it sort of in this sort of prior to the meeting and also listening to you and Annie's argument, I think that definitely makes sense to maintain the chimney, because I think the important thing that you point out is that if the building in the future is no longer a restaurant, that the chimney that was there will still be missing. It'll still be the ghost of what used to be there. The building won't be there anymore. So I think that's important to maintain that chimney as an important feature of this very simple structure. I definitely agree with that. So I'm on board with everything.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so if I give that feedback to the applicant and we see new drawings, are you okay to put it on discussion at least to look at it again at the HLRB meeting?
It wouldn't come back to us. Are they in a hurry?
Well, it was delayed just so that they can get more face time with the commission, and just in case what they submit needs another round of review, I think it would be best if they came to the HLRB to get the full board's discussion on the.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Great, I will put that on discussion. Okay, thank you very much for that. If the applicant has not arrived, I'm going to move on to item number 3. Okay, so this is a sign in Buckingham. This is in the Cassiana Spa space, and it is Burn Boot Camp. They are applying for 2 signs, one on the front, well, both on the front of the building. It is a corner building at the northernmost end of the shopping center, and this is a company that has submitted applications to us before. They did the T-Mobile sign that you approved most recently, and so this is what the 2 signs are. They have installed their signs with us before. I believe the applicant is on the line with us, but do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I have some not questions, comments about the spacing of the letters. On the one that you have on the screen right now, it seems like, this is a kerning issue, but it seems like there's more, this is because the P kind of tucks back in. There's more space on the P side than on the B side. So usually that would just move over a smidgen. And similarly, the boot, there's more space between the T and the C, and then between the N and the B. So normally boot would be moved over just a smidgen. They should have their graphics guy take a look at that. It's just a tiny refinement, and I kind of feel like actually what should happen is that the burn and the camp should come in just a hair towards boot. It seems like there's, it's spread. It's trying to be spread out too much to make it fit. Although it looks, yeah, it kind of looks like burn and camp are pushed too far towards the green lines, but that's just how I'm seeing it. And then the other one, if you can go to the other sheet, that one is really weird because it's so spread out that I don't know if there's, they can move the letters, the words closer together and then put some sort of white rectangles or something to, at the ends to fill up the space. But it just looks weird with all that space between the words to me. What do you get? What Omari and Andy, what do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, the sort of the longer sign, there is maybe too much space between burn and boot and boot and camp. The one around the corner, I hadn't quite noticed it, but I'd say that the one that sort of, I guess, the one that bothers me more is the longer sign.
Andy?
I don't have a great problem. I think your comments on it are appropriate. I think it is a little bit of an odd spacing, but it is I think they're trying to basically modify an existing sign with new lettering, but I think they're trying to retain some of what they've got. But
what I'm saying, Andy, is if we just push the burn and the camp together to a normal, kind of thing, and then maybe put little white rectangles, to fill up the rest of the space so it doesn't look kind of lonely there in the middle. I know the green isn't going to change.
I believe the applicant is on the line. Do you have any design comments that you can offer?
Hi, I'm the sign contractor. I'm from Creation Signs. The reason why I, add some space between the burn and boot and camp was, just to fill out that area, because as you can see, the business there before had much more number of the letters, so they did not have that issue. But with burn boot camp, it's just like little number of letters with such a long area. So I just add that space, but I understand with that spacing it looks kind of weird. I can have the letters more close together and make the green bar longer. But Erin here, which is the business owner, is here, and I don't know what she think about that.
Well, this is Robert again. I wasn't saying that you have to make the green bars bigger. I'm just talking about putting like a rectangle or something at the front, in front of burn and then after camp to, just sort of kind of take up some space. And they could just be white like the burn boot camp letters. And that would just something to fill up the space so that they could have a normal, you know, kind of relationship to each other.
I haven't seen, sorry to jump in, I haven't seen any rectangles like that, but I know that not the T-Mobile sign, the Tobacco King and Vape sign did have a neon decorative element. Then I wonder if the green, if you prefer not to have the green extended, maybe we could have an added neon element, like a flame icon or something on either side that would allow that space to be filled in. And would also allow the words to move closer together. Erin, is that something that is feasible, or I realize that is an additional cost?
Well, you know, of course, headquarters doesn't like the sign at all. And they had issues with the spacing as well. So yeah, they told me they would like the spacing to not be as much, but they didn't give any guidance for how to fill that in. I don't know about flames. Is that what you said?
Yes, like one of that
It could be anything. I mean, it could be like a couple of circles on each side, you know, which would be a little, I think, more gym related than flames. Or simple rectangles. It could even be like a big hyphen on, you know, on either side. It could be anything, just, you know, just to sort of fill the space up, but get proper sort of, because it just looks weird and it doesn't read well. You know, you don't read it all as one word is I guess the problem. You know, you don't read burn boot camp, you read burn boot camp. You know, you're not going to get. I can see why they would have an issue with this, because it's not their name is, you know, kind of flows all together. So I think you know, pushing the words together would help, and then just put something on either end. I don't know that it makes that much difference what it is, as long as it's, you know, tasteful.
Okay, yeah, I mean, rectangles, you know, something, yeah, that sounds good to me to fill in the space. And then I did have a question about side B. Are we required to have a sign there? I know that the spa had one.
I mean, you're not required to. It has historically been there, but you could, in this application, ask to remove it rather than having it.
Okay, because I asked our property manager and he said that I needed to get approval from you guys, I guess.
Right. So then, commission members, how do you feel about the removal, you're saying, of this?
Yeah, not even worrying about the little sign at all.
Well, it's sort of an interesting question, because presumably we are being asked to approve the removal of the Cassiana Spa sign to start off with, and then we're being asked to approve, you know, something else to replace it, right?
So on the side that faces the parking, that sign would be replaced. They're using the existing box. So it would not really be the replacement of the sign. It's just a change of the neon. The box itself is remaining. However, they are asking about the general feelings about the removal of this smaller sign over the
Oh,
only.
you mean take it off the building altogether?
I believe that's what they're asking, yes.
Correct.
Just this one.
I'd have to see the rest. Aren't they over all the windows?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I think that would be the reason not to do it. Just, but it could be just blank, I guess. I mean, would be the other thing. It doesn't have to say burn boot camp.
Blank light box, like the black box.
Yeah, I could just have the two little green, or even, you know, or could even, you could put in two green lines in there just to, you know, fill it in, but not put burn boot camp in there. If they were trying to steer people towards the front with their signage.
If we wanted to remove it completely, I would have to check with zoning about that to make sure that didn't have to come, like if the application had to go to them as well.
Okay.
Okay, so commissioners, would you like to see this come back to HLRB with a changed design and more clarification on what it could look like if the kerning were changed on kerning and spacing were changed on both signs, and an option for what it would look like if just the neon were removed on the box on this sign?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should see a few options. I mean, it's you know, you know, so that basically we can just pick something and be done with it. Because this is not a big deal. I mean, you know, and it's pretty, you know, straightforward. So, you know, I don't think we need to drag it out. We should just have a few options and then we just pick something, you know, based on the comments that we made tonight. I would think, you know, we should probably, you know, be able to choose from something that is offered.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It does to me. Is that feasible in the next week to get those drawings back to us, or do you want more time?
No, that's definitely possible. I will come up with, you know, a few options, and you guys can choose.
Yeah, I'm not guaranteeing that you know, that it's possible the board may not like any of them, but I think based on what we've talked about tonight, there's a pretty good chance that we'll be able to just pick something and approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I will send you some of that feedback via email, and you can let me know if you have any additional questions. But I'll plan to put this on the discussion agenda.
Yeah, I mean, if that's, I hate that we're putting so many on the discussion agenda, because the whole point of what we've been doing is to try to keep things off of the discussion agenda, but it, you know, because it takes a lot of time in the main meeting. But if they're in a hurry and they need to get this done, then I guess it's okay. If they can't wait a month, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
To come back to DRC.
I'm not sure of the applicant's timeline. I was trying to make it expedient for everyone. Erin or anyone, do you have a limit on your time?
Yes, we're going to be opening in the next few weeks.
Okay.
All right, so let's put it on discussion then.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to move on to the fourth item on our agenda. That is in the Maywood Local Historic District, 2831 23rd Road North. This is a request to replace, it's an entire building renovation, which includes the request to replace the vinyl windows with clad windows, reducing the size of 2 of the current openings, and in the front, moving the entrance doorway from the porch side to the front of the property, and in the rear, converting a doorway into a window and converting a different window into a doorway, and then painting some brick and replacing the siding with fiberboard siding. Mr. Inch, are you on the line?
I am. Hello.
Hi. I wanted to confirm with you that the windows that you were planning to put in were wood-clad windows.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to some of our elevations, and this are the proposed elevations, and we have elevations with the demolition information on them. And I wanted to confirm that brick that you're painting is already been painted. It is painted.
Correct. Yeah. So the brick is only on the front facade, and it is currently painted.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll be repainting.
That's fine. So that's not unpainted brick. I thought there was some on the rear that hadn't been painted. So we've never allowed wood-clad windows, but we've also not reviewed non-contributing properties that have come to us with vinyl windows that would like to change out the vinyl windows. This is a fairly unique situation in Maywood, so it'll be interesting just to discuss what precedent that sets. I did want to ask you, while I have you, about the change in size of the two windows that you need to change in order to move, shift things on the interior. Can you talk us through those?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, the main project is on the interior of the home. We're actually reorganizing the first floor to really give the family a much, more usable, beautiful space. And what's going to happen is the kitchen is going to shift to the front of the house. So the countertop height is actually dictating the height of those windows on the front. We're actually going to go ahead and there's three total, well, I guess two a double window and another window that the sill is going to raise up. But the top header is going to stay the same height as the consistent with all of the doors and windows on the first level. And that's actually what's dictating the repaint of the brick on the front facade, which we discussed. This front facade is not only is it a non-contributing property, but the exterior of this home, there is, I would say, piecemeal vinyl siding on both the sides and the rear. You can, at some point, there was some modifications to openings, and whoever they kind of cheaped out on the vinyl and just did patchwork. So what we're doing, as you mentioned, is the back and the two sides of the home are going to get a beautiful hardy siding, and then the front. The reason for the paint is for the window, because we're going to patch the masonry in and then repaint everything. So it's nice. The whole package is going to be nice and uniform.
And Steve, this is Trace Johnson. This is the homeowner. If I could just interject one comment.
Sure.
The facade was previously a beige up until the time that we purchased it in 2015. So much so that at least in the last year or two, when I checked my home on Google Maps, it was showing a brown or beige front brick facade that was then painted navy blue, and it was given a fresh paint job, and they updated the staircase just before we purchased it in 2015.
This is Robert. Can I interject here? If the brick has already been painted, HOAB doesn't have any jurisdiction over the color, so you're free to repaint however you'd like. I don't think we need to even review the painting of the brick if it's already been painted. As long as there's no, new brick, or brick that hasn't been painted that is going to be painted, as long as it's all been painted already, that's not really on the table, I don't think.
Correct. So this is just a review of the conversion of the vinyl to clad windows, the reduction in size of those windows in the kitchen, and the conversion of those openings in the rear, plus the addition of the fiberboard siding. And the movement of the front door opening into that space.
Serena, as a point of just, I swear that we've done, maybe, you know better than I do on this, but I swear that we've done, that we recently did, I thought, a clad window on a non-contributing structure in a similar situation to this.
I think you're right, Robert.
Really? It may have been outside of my era with you, because I know that we just went through The property on North Jackson, which was a new construction, we required that to be wood windows because it was the demolition of a contributing structure which had wood windows. And then in North Edgewood, just now, we required the North Edgewood addition to have solid wood windows, even though it was non-contributing and it was a new construction addition. I would have to go through. But you remember there being wood-clad windows? I mean, I think it's an upgrade from vinyl.
Well, it was I think it was a similar situation where there were vinyl windows or metal windows or something that were being replaced with wood clad. I swear we've been through this. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, all the windows are new to the structure. If you look at the site plan, this is not the original facade of the property. That box that you see that has been that is on the front of the property, it used to be an inset porch. So this is not even the actual facade of the property. So everything you see is an addition, and the entire facade is altered.
No, I know that, but that's not. I don't think that's the issue. I mean, it could. I think we all agree that this is non-contributing. That at this point, it's been so changed that it's no longer a contributing structure. And so, the question is are you allowed under the current guidelines or under previous precedent to do clad windows to replace vinyl windows in a non-contributing structure? I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like that's a pretty simple thing to research. And because if it has been done, then there's precedent. If it hasn't been done, then the board would be setting new precedent. And I think that's something that would need to be discussed certainly by the full board if that's the case.
Okay, I can certainly do that research and include it in the staff report.
I mean, personally, I don't have any problems with the changes in the opening. So for me, that's the only issue. And I don't know about Andy and Amari, but that's my issue. That's my only issue.
Could I interject? I think I have a suggestion. One of the things that is reasonable, I think is nice about the house is the hip roof, which, given the house and its history, I think that's quite appropriate, and it would be quite different if it didn't have a hip roof. And in that vein, that addition on the east side with a almost flat roof, shed roof. It's almost completely flat. I think that would be drastically improved on the house and make it go with the house a lot better if they did the same thing as they did on the west side, where they've got another little hip roof for that addition part, or that may have been the original part of the house. But in any case, it fits, and if you put a hip roof over it with the top of the hip being at the windowsill, you shouldn't have any real problems with that. And I think it would drastically improve the looks of the house and make it a little bit more harmonious. The other thing I think is I think we've done this, and I think we need to do some research on this, but I really question whether requiring wood windows instead of clad wood windows on non-contributing structures is reasonable. I think there ought to be some more leeway on the non-contributing structures which are basically 19 post World War II houses, and things changed there, and I think that I think there's room there for on the non-contributing to look at, if we haven't already set the precedent, to look at clad wood windows as an alternative.
I will certainly do that research. I have two questions. So one for the applicant. I don't know if the applicant was planning on touching the roof over that existing bump out.
Correct. Yeah, there's no plans to change any footprint or any roofs. All of our work is either interior or window or exterior door.
Okay. And then for the commissioners, or just in general, so the opening that you are converting into the front door is currently a window, which is why it is not centered to the stairs. From a staff perspective, historically, a doorway probably would have been centered to the entrance. And so it feels a little bit off, that it's off center. Obviously, there's an existing opening that you want to use and there are existing stairs that you want to use, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up as a point of discussion for the commissioners. Am I the only one who?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, it would look better, definitely, to have that stair centered on that door, because I mean, the good thing about the door being where it is it is centered on the window above. So having that stair sort of, that line of center sort of flow from the axis, flow from the top to the bottom. That would be nicer if that stair was centered. Just kind of a design comment basically there. I did have one other comment too, or question rather.
So I was just going to interject. My wife would feel the same, and as soon as we touch the exterior of the door, and we will have to replace the roof in the next 10 years, we'll definitely be centering the door to new stairs at that point. It's just not in scope for this phase of the project.
Sure. And then one other question too. Is a brick chimney in the back, is that currently painted or is that unpainted?
It's painted, but the paint is weathered and it's chipping and it's
it needs a lot of help for sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
And one thing also, I appreciate the consideration in this situation for the clad window. It's actually, this package is dictating the entire start of the job with COVID and materials how they are. This is a window and door package that we worked really hard on, and is basically, I was able, with initial comments from you, Serena, to put it on hold, which was good, but we're also looking at extra charges for the change of the year and a couple different things, which don't really affect your decision as far as an aesthetic point, but would be just greatly appreciated as far as the lenience in that matter for us and the homeowner.
Serena, this is Robert again. I think it's really not our decision here at DRC. I mean, if it's, I like Andy, I don't personally have a problem when it's non-contributing, and I think we should be giving some leeway. But if it's not something that is allowed by the guidelines currently, or if there isn't a precedent for having done it, it's the full board is going to have to decide on this issue. So, we can always recommend, approval of this with that caveat that the window material needs to be, reviewed by the full board.
Absolutely. So if I do that research, are you comfortable again with it coming to discussion next month or this month, or would you like to see it again?
It sounds like they'd like to get moving. So since unless your research indicates that there has been precedent for this in the past, or the guidelines allow it, which I don't think they do. It would have to go to the full board anyway, so why don't we just send it to the full board to review, again, not for the overall, but for this specific issue. We can recommend that they approve it in general and review the issue of whether this is whether it would be allowable to have clad windows.
Okay. All right, then I will put this as the fourth item on the agenda, discussion agenda. Okay, if there are no additional comments, that is the end of our agenda for the night.
Okay, well.
Okay, thank you to all the applicants for attending tonight, and thank you to our commissioners. I appreciate your time and your expertise.
And thank you, Serena, for preparing everything.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.